Setting priorities. Setting priorities is process of making decisions about how best allocate limited resources to improve population health. So, setting priorities help to inform how much time we want to spend different things sa pagdesisyon kung unsa mga butang ang mas importante ang buhaton. Factor that affect priority. Based on tax, factor related such as length, urgency, important produce, procedures, and reward, and non-tax related factors such as intrusiveness, context, search, and stress. Individuals have present bias in how they organize tax, but with practice can become a more efficient tax prioritization. So, can the project be implemented in reasonable time period, and how long will result that last? So, project implemented consists of carrying out the activity with the aim of delivery, the output, and the monitoring progress compared to the work plan. Are the necessary financial, human, and technical resources available? So, so can yes, because human resources need to consider the cost of benefits of onboarding new employees. Whenever possible, the analysis should be evaluate a proposed project based on a tangible cost and benefits that represent actual or approximate dollar values. Ang tangible benefits are qualitable and measurable. They used to weight and values of job. Sometimes it's called hard savings. In other words, there are improvement project benefits that have some special dollars value, number and labor hours, or other specific metric that can be determined how to be achieved through the project. Discretionary and non-discretionary project. Project where management has a choice in implementing the are called discretionary project. And project where no choice exists are called non-discretionary project. So, unsa man ang kalayaan sa duha ni discretionary and non-discretionary project. So, ang non-discretionary project is ang mga example na yung mga panalitan ang mga gastuhan sa pareha sa ubang pagkaon, pag-abang, sa mga pagbayad sa utang, sa kabaliktaran ang dictionary nga paggasto nagtumong nga dili kinahanglanon nga mga gasto sama sa mga kalingawan o mga lakaw-lakaw mga biyahe. Ang discretionary is something that you use as desired or needed. So kinahanglan sa magamit rin mga kwarta. When you have a pretty cash available to use and the money you spend, example of discretionary spending ads. So kuandra ka ng discretionary is na kinahanglan na gito na gamiton mo ra jay ang purpose. Preliminary investigations overview. Preliminary investigations interactions with managers and users. Let people know about the investigations and explain your role. Employee attitudes and reactions are important and must be considered. Be careful of your use of the word problem. Questions users about additional capability they would like to have. Preliminary investigations overview is planning the preliminary investigations. During the preliminary investigations, a system analysis typically follows a series of steps. The exact procedures depends on the nature of the request, the size of the project, and the degree of urgency. Step 1 of understand the problem or opportunity. A popular technique for investigating cause and effect is called a fishbone diagram or Ishikawa diagram. So, what is an example of fishbone diagram? First, state the problem, define your categories and brainstorming each category and analyze your result. Step 2, define the project scope and constraints. So they have to look at project scope, project script and content. So what is project scope? Project scope is a great scope example of effective tool typically used in project management. It is used to explain the most important deliverables of a project. Project script, undocumented conversations and agreement directly between the client and the team members. Constraint, example, ka kaimnonon kag tubig inja na available na tubig na mainom pero gipungan ka kay wala mainom na iniguman og pagkaon so kuan ka ng murag nagipugman lagi ka na. And step 2, define the project scope and constraints. So there to look at kuan project scope, the present versus features, internal versus external, mandatory versus desirable, and regardless of the type, all constraints should be identified as early as possible to avoid future problems and surprise. Preliminary investigations overview. Step 3. Prepare fact feeding. First, fact feeding involves various techniques, and depending on what information is needed to investigate the system request, fact feedings might consume several hours and day or week. And analyze organization chart. Obtain the organization chart to understand how the department functions and identify individual you might want to interview. So, analyze organization chart. Obtain organization chart to understand how the department functions. First, conduct the interviews. They can determine the people to interview. Establish the objective for the interview. Develop the interview questions. Prepare for the interview. Conduct the interview and document and evaluate the interview.
Let's continue the step of preliminary investigation overview. Step 4. Analyze project usability, cost, benefits, and schedule data. Before you can evaluate usability, you must analyze this data carefully. This is the first we're going to do for the researcher. Analyze before you can evaluate the usability. What information you must obtain and how you will gather and analyze the information. The researcher gathered and analyzed the information through conducting interview and survey. What sources of information will you use and what difficulties you will encounter in obtaining information? The sources of information will use of the researcher is the Google Chrome and dictionary. The researcher encountered many difficulties like lack of internet connection, revise the response of the respondents, and etc. When you conduct interview, how many people you will interview and how much time will you need to meet with the people and summarize their responses. Conducting interview is very important to gather more information and it depends the researcher if how many people they will interview and how much time they will spend to meet and summarize their responses. Will you conduct a survey? Who will be involved? How much time will take people to complete it? How much time will take to prepare it and tabulate the result? Conducting a survey is very important to get and gather more information. When we conduct a survey, there are many people who involved, especially the teacher, students, researcher, employed and unemployed person. I think it's too much time to prepare and tabulate the result because it depends the respondents to answer the survey. How much will it cost to analyze the information gathered and to prepare a report with findings and recommendation? Time management and the presence of the group member is important to analyze the information gathered and prepare the report with findings and recommendations. Step 5. Evaluate feasibility. Start by reviewing the answers of the question you asked. There are four feasibility, which is the operational feasibility, technical feasibility, economic feasibility, and schedule feasibility. Operational feasibility, the fact finding that data should have included a review of a user's needs, requirements to the management. Technical feasibility, your fact finding data should identify the hardware, software, and network needed to develop, to install, and operate the system. Economic feasibility, a cost estimate of the project development team will be built into the project management plan. Schedule feasibility, the fact-finding data should include stakeholder expectation regarding accept timing and completion dates. Step 6. Present result and recommendation to management. The final task in the preliminary investigation is to prepare a report to the management. The format of the preliminary investigation support varies from one company to another. Introductions. Brief descriptions of the system, the name of a person or a group who participated and initiated the investigation. System request summary. Describe the basic of the investigation. Findings. Contains the result of a preliminary investigation. Case for action. A summary of a project request and a specific recommendation. Project rule. List of the people who will participate in the project. Time and cost estimate. Describe a cost of acquiring and installing the system. Expected benefits. Includes and participate tangible and intangible benefits and timetable. Appendix. If you need to attach the supporting information or source. Summary. Strategic planning allows a company to examine the proposed vision and values and development and mission statement, which lead to goal, objectives, day-to-day operations, and business results that affect company stakeholders. System projects are initiated to improve performance, provide more information, reduce costs, streamline controls, or provide better service. Various external and internal factors affect system projects such as user requests, task management detecting existing system, the IT department, software and hardware vendors, technology, customers, competitors, and economic and government. During the preliminary investigations, the analysts evaluate the system request and determine whether every project is visible from an operation, technical, economic, and schedule standpoint. Analyze evaluate system requests on the basis of their expected costs and benefits, both tangible and intangible. The step in the preliminary investigations are to understand the problem or opportunity, define the project scope and constraints, perform fact-finding, analyze project usability, costs, benefits, and schedule data, evaluate feasibility, and present schedule and recommendations to management. The last task in a preliminary investigation is to prepare a report to management. The report must include an estimate of time, staffing requirements, costs, benefits, and expected result for the next phase of SDLC.